1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and we are probably live, coming to you live on YouTube, Twitter X, Rumble, and Kick. Yeah, I think we're on Kick. Yeah, oh yeah, we're on Kick, all right. Yep, we're on Kick for once. So for the first time, I'm popping my Kick cherry. So when I started this stream on Kick, I had to click a button that says, is this for 18 years old or not? And so I don't know if making jokes like that is off color because I didn't click 18 or older. But we're going to go ahead and I had something fall behind me. Let's fire it up. So today we have a guest. I wouldn't really call you a guest. I think you'd just be like a semi-regular, you know what I mean? Let's see, how do I click this button here? We got David Glenn on the right side here. That makes me a lefty.
Howdy, sir.
Hello there. As a lefty, I must tell you that I find everything appalling that everyone here is about because I'm on the left and I am triggered. No, I don't. I'm just kidding. But anyway, actually, we do accept our friends on the left and on the right, and the only people we don't accept are people who are intolerant on either side of the aisle. How you doing, Dave?
Very good. I'm not echoing, so I'm just happy as a clam right now.
Cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little test on my cellular phone because I've never had you on before. And I want to see like how both of us sound. Like I'm pretty confident my sound is good, and plus who's going to complain about my sound? But let's see what this sounds like here. All right. Oh, you're good. You're slightly lower than me, so yeah. At least you're not too loud, so you don't have to worry about that. That's for sure.
Oh, good. Then I can speak freely then and not have to worry about.
Yep. Like they say on Star Trek, permission to speak candidly with all due respect. You ever notice how when people say with all due respect, it's followed by something disrespectful?
Yes. Yeah. That's
like
almost a trope.
Yeah, it's like, with all due respect, you're a dick. And it's like, well, I guess you covered the technical part there. But yeah, so like, I'm glad you might be able to chime in on the butterfly effect because I do want to do a little meteorology today, and I pride myself as an amateur meteorologist. Oh, come on, that's so gay. Pardon my language. Like, isn't that crazy how like I can't put you on the bottom left corner? Like, what is that shit? It's like I can do that. That's all I can do. All right, I'll put you on the bottom.
Oh, I don't need to be on screen. It really adds nothing to the experience.
It adds a lot to the experience. Okay. And that's why I'm going to mess with my OBS configuration right now, and we're going to make it wrong. Oh, wait, make it right. No, I'm joking. But no, jokes aside, let me get this open broadcast studio window here. And all I want to do is, how do I do this? All right, main monitor. Then I got to go here and highlight myself. And then all I got to do is do that. There we go. And then now you're not obstructing the corner. But jokes aside, we're Gucci here. Let's see. Then I got to click on this button again. Yeah, there we go. See, like, a little representation. Awesome. Yeah, so, we got one of my favorite meteorological maps. Real quick, I'm just going to check in on the chat. Okay, nobody's on Rumble yet. That's cool. I'm making it, like, I'm keeping that Rumble on my left side of my main screen because, I don't want to, like, ignore the Rumble people ever again. Ooh, people can see the messy part of my desk. Let's put that there. There we go. That's better. But yeah, like, so I got the Rumble chat on my left side, and then I got the Restream chat on my upper right, so I can, like, highlight chats and do all the things that we normally would do, something like that. I gotta get rid of that Star Wars background soon. Like, it's from the sequel trilogy, and, I don't even like the sequel trilogy. So yeah, definitely gotta do something about that. But for now, I think we're in good. Wait a second. Let me just tweak this. Oh, I see. I made the window too narrow. Okay, we're gonna make the window wider. But yeah, I'm vowing to, like, not accidentally ignore Rumble because I appreciate people who view the content, the channel on here. My dad goes, you have a meteorologist? Yeah, we got a meteorologist here. This is David Glenn of Channel 10 Indiana. No, I don't know. We don't have a meteorologist. This is meteorologist amateur hour. We're going to basically just make up conspiracy theories about weather. Well, not really. Actually, what I am going to do is use my insights from astrophotography to try to critique, comment on the weather, talk about, interpreting the NOAA maps, because it's just stuff that our tax dollars pay for. And basically, what you normally would do in the daytime is you might look at the geocolor map, but at nighttime it's got like this fake, I think, backdrop which shows you the city lights, so you have like an idea of what part of the country you're looking at. And then down here, it tells you like what it does, what it is. So it says geocolor is a multispectral product, which is basically meaning that they're using different filters and they're combining the different stuff together, composed of true color using a simulated green component. So basically during the daytime, you'll see like fake green, I guess, to represent vegetation to some extent, and an infrared product that uses band 7 and 13 at night, which is, they got like a document that explains all that crap, like in this PDF document here. The imagery looks approximately as it would be viewed with the human eyes from space. At night, the blue color. So then, this is the thing. A lot of these maps, some of these maps will be different at nighttime versus the daytime. So at nighttime, the blue color represents liquid water clouds. So my guess is that on the west coast, right near the Yucatan, that would be, I guess, water clouds. And actually in my area here, but because these clouds moving towards the east, I was able to uncover my telescope tonight with no risk of getting rained in.
Are those blue clouds what leads to atmospheric rivers?
That's a good question. I do not know, but we might be able to analyze that actually using, once again, this is Meteorology Amateur Hour. That's a good question. And how would, actually, let's go ahead and analyze that. So right off the bat, what we want to do is start with the continental U.S. with a full disk. So how do I do this again? I think we do CONUS, North America, Caribbean. Here we go, full disk. So if we go like open up geocolor, I'm going to open it up in a new tab. Now we can see like maybe you're onto something. So only thing that's missing from this is like the jet stream, and I don't really rely on the jet stream at all. So it's like it's not something that comes into my day-to-day concerns. Usually it's more like I'm looking at the 5-day forecast, and what tends to happen is the forecast, I'll have like AccuWeather and the Weather Channel, and I find that AccuWeather has been a little bit more accurate. I've had times where I've had reasonable assurance that it wouldn't rain, and then it did rain. So then AccuWeather tends to be like more, at least in my experience in my area, it could just be that the weather stations, basically the more amateur weather stations and the more real weather stations you got, the better, the more accurate the weather model is. And so if I really wanted to like contribute, I could actually buy like a weather station that's been certified by NOAA and stick it in the backyard, and that would potentially contribute to the computer models. And real quick, I do want to say hi to Mrs. Dadman Walken. I just want to say hello to Lawrence Maglio, and I want to say hello to David Glenn. Oh wait, you're in the chat, you're in the video, and Mr. Dadman Walken, which is just Dadman Walking 55, who both content creators of their own right. They have content, and Mrs. Dadman Walking is doing a lot of Fortnite lately, but Mrs. Dadman has also done a lot of Lego work, and yeah, you can see some like really interesting Lego mansions being constructed on her channel as of like I think the past month or two. And Dadman, he's just a good sci-fi lover. I believe I met Dadman, or I'm pretty sure I got to know Dadman from Clobberin Times' channel. So we're in good company today. And yeah, and he says, DJ, I love tracking hurricanes and talking about them, but this one is not looking good. Yeah, so as I understand it, like looking at the Google picture search as of a few hours ago, it was like, I think it's going to hit category 4, like as it's going over Florida. But once it's hitting land, it starts to lose that steam, and then it goes back to a 3. And as I understand it, by the time it gets to Bermuda, it appears, at least the forecast appears, everything's subject to change when you're projecting things down to Friday, is expected to get, it looks like it'll go down to a tropical storm. But once again, this is Amateur Hour here, Meteorological Amateur Hour. Hello, Moira Kitty, how are you doing today? Have we covered how weird it is that the hurricane is to form like that? The hurricane formed like that. We can speculate. I'm down for that. It's a good question. Holy cow, we got Snortopubis Q Burr. I am honored to have you here. Snortopubis Q Burr, we go way back. Well, at least I remember meeting him on Stone Loki's channel, Loki's Mornings of Mischief, and I just love the whole, like polar bear living. I think the polar bear lifestyle is what's up. Biggest bear in the world, believe it or not. Like, I think this is why the doomed Franklin expedition might have had a bad go of it. I mean, like you don't need a mythical beast to go after you. You just need polar bears. Like, I once saw a British guy. He sat in a polar bear cage, and luckily the polar bear had to do some calculus. The polar bear was like, am I gonna burn more calories trying to eat this guy? Am I going to benefit from burning these calories? And then ultimately the polar bear had to move on because, he's like, I'll go get some seal. It's good to breathe.
I thought I lost sound there for a moment.
Yeah, I got you 5 by 10. And Snorter Pooper says, hello, David Glenn. Actually, he says, hello, David Glenn. Current projection is landfall around Tampa at category 3, but some models have it staying stronger and growing in size. Whew. I think Pops, our friend Pops, will do fine. I certainly have both, prayers and thoughts. And I love saying thoughts and prayers because you ever notice how when people lose their shit, when people say thoughts and prayers, like I remember on Facebook, one of the reasons I stopped using Facebook was because people would bitch about thoughts and prayers. It's like, I don't know what people want. It's like, I get that thoughts and prayers might seem meaningless on the surface to a lot of people, but it's like, people say thoughts and prayers, at least in my opinion, I would say thoughts and prayers because I'm trying to be like politically correct. I'm trying to be friendly to people who maybe don't, believe in prayers. So it's like, I'm saying, I have you in my thoughts. I'm thinking about you. And then people still act like dicks about it, part of my language. So, I do respect the concept of thoughts and prayers nonetheless.
Can't please all the people all the time.
This is true. What's up, James? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show chat. Plus, hurricanes are much more than just winds. This should carry massive storm surges, which is very destructive. Yeah, it's like it's definitely a thing. So like, I actually not survived. I experienced a category 3 hurricane in my town, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a local map to illustrate. Let me see. How do we do this? Maps.google. All right, there we go. Or we could do Google Earth. Let's do Google Earth. Google Earth is 3-dimensional, so we should totally do that. Even though Google Maps is probably more practical. Yeah, Google. We're gonna open up Google Earth because that's way cooler. There we go. And then we got to do main monitor. And so regarding storm surges, as Mr. Dadman referred to, we're gonna go and zoom in on the bottom right corner of New York City. Now, of course, Hurricane Sandy had massive impacts on, pretty wide areas, or the entire Jersey coastline. So people who had property in Wildwood, which, if I remember correctly, is somewhere way down here, like past Atlantic City. Yeah, there we go. So like people, like you got like a crap ton of vacation homes here, and it's just, this is like literally like, I don't know what you call this land formation, but it's like not even on the mainland per se. It's not on the continental mainland. It's its own little sandbar type thing. And yeah, this got severely impacted by storm surges, and people who owned property or had vacation property, some of them were told like, hey, look, if you want to keep this property, or I forget the exact terms or legality, but essentially they were required to spend like, $250,000 to put their house on stilts, to have the house elevated in order to comply with new compliances in case of a future storm, I suppose. Or perhaps, there might be some land grab concerns there. Now, in my area, or near my area, so you had actually parts of New York near me called, on bottom of Long Island, in particular. Let's zoom out a bit more. So there we go. Okay, that's Long Island, right? Looks like a dinosaur's chin or alligator's chin sticking out of the United States. And if we go, let's get rid of this bar here. There we go. And I'm not seeing the Rumble chat. I want to see the Rumble chat because I am not ignoring Rumble tonight. I want to make sure we give love to Rumble, because if someone tunes in on Rumble, on my obscure Rumble channel, I want to make sure I give them recognition. So yeah, like basically like you have like this area right here got totally like waterlogged. That's Far Rockaway. You know, like middle class, lower middle class. I don't know if you call them lower middle class, but you know, just like an area with normal people. And so the thing that reason I'm showing these areas is, and just give you one more area. Wow, the zoom on here is slow. Oh, there we go. That's better. Then we have one more area called Midland Beach on Staten Island. And this area, like, I remember driving through it, and like I saw like a hole in the house that was the size of like the background behind me. And as I understand, people who were there, they heard the water rushing through it. Like they would hear, or like they would hear people yelling from down the block, almost like echoing, or when you hear people yelling, going, "Ah, get out!" You know, and like, you know, it's no joke, even though it sounds humorous the way I'm imitating that, but you know, it was like, you know, no joke. And then what ended up happening was like you had, you know, people who had to stay in hotels, and then the cops had to try to, you know, go through the neighborhood with spotlights to sort of like, you know, deter burglars because, of course, you know, plenty of looting opportunities. But now the thing is that even though it was category 3, I took a walk. I took like a walk between like approximately here, Port Richmond, and somewhere over here. You know, I'm not gonna be too exact on the positioning here, but like it was just a little windy in my opinion. Like it was windy, but it wasn't like Hurricane Andrew. It wasn't like I was seeing rooftops being ripped apart. But the thing was that I was on a part of the island where, you know, you got like water that doesn't go as deep. So you got like the Goethals Bridge connecting New Jersey to Staten Island, and this is an area that needs to be dredged, as I understand it. So basically, the storm surge wasn't really as impactful over there, and the main issue would be that if you lived more in this area, you definitely would have saw more flooding. I mean, you can see like estuaries or marshland and brackish water areas. So yeah, this would have been impacted and flooded, especially the Amazon warehouse, which didn't exist back then. Where is the Amazon warehouse? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but and there it is. It's the biggest building. Like you can see the freaking truck dock. We showed this a couple weeks ago, but you can see like how many truck docks there are, just to give you an idea of the sense of scale. But there were roads. I remember riding my bike up here and encountering like roads like this, where it was just like it looked like a little lake covering like this entire block segment, and I'd be like, do I want to go through it or do I want to go around it? And sometimes I would go through it and get lucky, but you could hit a pothole and then get soaked trying to wade through that stuff. But the point being is that yeah, like even though like I didn't think it felt like a category 3, and some people like would say they don't want to be near category 3. The storm surge was the real issue, and as I understand it, the status of the tide, the full moon, and the tide, perhaps, but definitely the tide at the time that the storm was, you know, flying over had a major impact on that storm surge, and so that is a valid concern there. I don't have very much knowledge about Florida, but maybe someone in the chat does. What up, Bone? Good to see you. Now, let's see here what we got here. It's the beach. Yep. At the beach. I don't know. I can't do Dave Chappelle, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Oh, and the saltwater intrusion is very dangerous. They have been warning people with electric cars. Yeah. Boy, that wrecks those Tesla batteries, huh, Dave?
Yeah, it does. Salt water is not good for anything.
And you did some, you know, recent streams refurbishing batteries, right?
Yes.
And so, like, you know, I mean, like, I thought, like, I look at a battery pack and I see like a sealed unit, you know, like, I mean, I guess they gotta breathe or something, because I know like deep cycle batteries, World War II diesel submarines, they do emit oxygen in the process of charging or discharging, and so they have to vent that. But like, I would have thought they could build a car battery that's just completely sealed. Like, I don't know, like, what's any idea, any, you know, opinion or thought on that?
Well, a lot of I don't know if it's still that way now that Elon makes his own batteries, but when electric cars first came out, they were just filled with 18650s, the normal. Am I being too loud?
No, not at all. You're perfect. Yeah, the 18650s, they look a bit like AA batteries, but they're a bit thicker and a bit longer.
Yes, and it was just, you know, packs and packs and packs of these things. I don't know if that's changed, but yeah, there's And then the battery management system is probably the most expensive part of one of those larger packs.
Yeah. So really, I guess like if you have a short, it doesn't even matter if the cell is perfectly sealed, but if, salt water is going to have those conductive properties. Sometimes, at least distilled water doesn't necessarily conduct electricity. It's the impurities or even the salt in the water. So, yeah, definitely is advisable for anyone with a EV to, not park it, in a place where they suspect it's going to have that issue. And in the case of, as he says, don't park it in your home, is because like if it's in your driveway, yeah, a battery fire, if you're gonna have a battery fire, you're gonna want to have it like, I don't know, on the curbside parking perhaps, but ideally if you could park your car on a mountain, I mean, or like a tall hill or some higher elevation area, I'd say, that would be, I would think it's ideal, but I don't know. I mean,
parking garage would work as well.
Oh yeah, those things are really solid too. They got the reinforced concrete. That would probably strike a good balance. The water on the ground James says, will lay waste to the works of mankind in Florida. These are like two unusual hurricanes in a row. Yeah, I mean the one that, like, as I'm aware, affected the Carolinas severely. And of course it affected Florida, as our friend Pops, whose YouTube channel is literally @Pops, talked about it today. Literally, like, over the past couple of days, just finished cleaning up. And now it's like, okay, we're going to, go, this is going to be the next rodeo, But I have hope, building code in Florida being what it is, I have hope, for our friends down there. But I should probably give my aunt a call and check on her in the next couple of days and see what's good. And let's see what else we got here. Oh, if you ask Vegas to calculate odds, they would be low. Yeah, well, Vegas gave low odds to Babylon 5, and that station was still standing. Seriously, there was a Babylon 5 episode where, like, they had a news reporter show up at the space station, and while she's talking, interviewing the commander, she's, like, running through the odds, and they're showing up, like, as, like, an overlay on the bottom of the screen. It's showing Las Vegas, New Vegas, naming, like, all these cities in space, and basically, like, the odds makers are saying, like, the first 4 Babylon 5 stations either blew up or disappeared. And so they felt like, yeah, Babylon 5's next. And, well, they beat the odds, but, you got to watch the 5-season show to see how that went.
Oh, I thought somebody was when you first said that somebody out in Vegas actually accepted a bet for a particular storyline.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you could bet on anything in Vegas. And I remember years ago, like, a friend of mine explained to me, I don't know if this is true, but he explained that they didn't do professional sports in Vegas for a long time. They had, like, a big game, and during this big game, there was a power outage, and it was just like one of those highly convenient or inconvenient power outages, depending on what side you're gambling on. So it's sort of like, okay, yeah, let's like, refrain from sports in this city for a while because we can't trust people, with nice things. Yeah, so some of those houses are big and expensive. We're talking about, what were we talking about? Jersey, Staten Island, or I don't think we're talking about Staten Island. Although there are some big houses in Toad Hill, but that's the thing. The people live on the top of the hill. I think the one of the craziest bike rides I did was on a place called Lighthouse Hill, and it's one of the highest points on the eastern seaboard. And holy cow, that like yeah, it's not something I'd try to replicate anytime too soon. I mean, you're dealing with a hill when you see the road start making a lot of weird turns. The road planners don't just make random turns for no reason. They're usually doing it because of topography.
Yeah, like switchbacks.
Yep. Switchbacks, great example. I encountered those in Beam NG Drive, that game with the cool destruction graphics and all of that. Water and waves will toss cars around like toys. I don't care how tough you are, getting hit by a flying Volvo is going to leave a mark or two. This is true. Unless you got like one of those like bank cars, like the armored cars. Maybe those sit down a little. Maybe those don't move as much. But I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never commandeered a bank car. I assure you guys, ever. But anyway, let's get back to our weather map. Now we talked about, like, storm surge. So we got an idea now. Okay, we got the hurricane there, but we're gonna go and switch over to a different map because I don't think we want to read the academic stuff. But there's, this is the PDF document. that explains the GOES geo color map, and I'll be able to show you guys different ways of navigating this, but I'm just gonna drop. Oops, I dropped the restream link. That's crazy. That means anybody could join. I mean, if anyone wants to join, I guess let me know. I am trying to get to bed at a reasonable time because I'm very bad at this. I mean, at going to bed, I'm good at this. I'm okay at doing this, but going to bed, not so good. As you know, right? I usually run like an hour. Oh yeah, by the way, Dave, I know you usually try to turn in early, so that might actually work to my favor. That might be the thing that gets me to go to bed.
I'm so jazzed right now to actually have my equipment working that I think I can probably
Yeah.
stay up the rest of the night. So
That's cool, man. I was thinking about doing a microphone unboxing at some point, but I might save this for the week. But this is the microphone that I plan to bring to Texas. I actually own one already, but I gave it to my father, and he's happy with it. It works great, and it should work great because I picked it. And yeah, this is actually the microphone that introduced me to the Samson brand, and that's why I've been perfectly comfortable buying like 2 additional microphones from the same company. Now,
cool.
yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, like that was like a $40. Now it's a $30 microphone, and it's like a little tiny condenser mic, but it's like it's got like the tripod mount attachment, so you can put it onto a boom arm or like a camera tripod, or you got options, and it's got a clippy thing. So if you're using it on a laptop, you can like literally clip it to the side of the screen. So very flexible, and that's what I use it for. So if I'm using my laptop, it's like, do I want to use the shitty? In fact, side note, the microphone on my laptop sounds awful on Linux, and I think it's got like some exotic driver where it's doing like the 3D spatial audio or some crap. So yeah, this microphone's a lifesaver in when
Are you using a proprietary driver or is it a generalized Linux driver? Do you know?
Well, I can tell you I did not put any extra effort into configuring it, so it's probably
Okay.
something.
Yeah.
But you might be able to give me some pointers on that during the week because, I mean, like, honestly, I got this mic now, so it's, like, not a big deal. But it wouldn't hurt for me to have the internal mic configured properly. It wouldn't hurt to do that anyway, It's good to have options.
Just shoot me the model number and maker, and I'll look into it.
Okay, I'll do, yeah, my LSPCI or whatever I got to do. So anyway, now we got this map. We're going to switch over to another one called the day-night microphysics. And the reason I like this map is because when I'm doing astrophotography, there will be nights where the weather forecast will say it's a clear night and I won't see a cloud in the sky. But then I'll look up and I'll see like stuff that resembles this red, ruby red or purple stuff. And in some cases, it's not necessarily a cloud. It's like high altitude stuff. And we can see on the color key, we got daytime colors, day cloud phase, and night microphysics. I guess that's just the terminology they use because they're using different filters, imaging filters, to collect the light or the data, the infrared light. So during the nighttime, we can like say, let's do the hurricane, I guess. So we got like that dark red stuff. That would be like number 8. And maybe we got some of that number 7 in there, and we got some number 9, which actually I don't usually see number 9. So let's take a look here. So starting at number 9, number 9 is high, thin clouds. So, word high, I'm going to say it stands to be reasoned, is referring to high altitude clouds. And so when I don't see a cloud in the sky, I'll sometimes see that red stuff almost looking like, it'll look a lot like what you mentioned before, like an atmospheric river. And like, yeah, it's just one of those things like where, it's like once I see that, even if I have clear skies, I know that my seeing conditions are not going to be very good. It's going to be like, it's just going to, like, I'm going to have ripples. I'm going to be pointing at a star, and either the star is going to get dimmer and brighter throughout the night. It's not going to be consistent, or worse off, it'll just be like twinkling a lot, which will be almost like pointless to even try imaging it. And that moisture also can exacerbate light pollution. So what we're seeing here, bottom line, is number 9, high thin cloud, near black, high thick cloud, dark red, high very thin ice cloud. So it's often the ice clouds that get me, actually. It's like the number 7 and 8, because it's those ice clouds, or number 6 even, that get me, because like it's like almost like that's how clouds form. It's like you got like ice particles, ice crystals, and then you get that nucleating where like the moisture clings onto the ice particle or the dust particle, and then it eventually precipitates due to whatever factors, temperature or density and whatnot.
So things with a high refractive index, then?
It definitely seems to do that, yeah, because like that seems to be what's going. That's a good, yeah. And speaking of high refractive index, so like we got the water vapor one. This one I wasn't even looking at until very recently, but you got 3 items on the pull it down menu. You got water vapor upper, mid, and lower. So if we do like lower, that's going to be effectively near the ground. And I've never seen the green color before, so I'm sure we're going to learn quite a bit. And I'm going to bet you that this difference here has something to do with the pressure front, the difference in the pressure front. Now, real quick, Moira Kitty did mention before, some, concerns that this was an unusual hurricane. Now, I'm not a hurricane expert. I mean, the name of the stream is, Meteorology Amateur Hour. But, I'm usually accustomed to seeing hurricanes working their way up from, south. Let's switch over to geo color here. So I'll explain what these different views are in a moment. But bottom line is, I typically expect to see the hurricane coming from somewhere down here and then working its way up to Florida and then working its way up the eastern seaboard. And I remember one of the hurricanes, like 4 hurricanes ago, it basically made its way up to Greenland, which fascinated the shit out of me because, that's like an area where pretty much the hurricane was already dead by the time it got to Greenland because, how is it gonna fuel itself if there's no warm water beneath it? High altitude. So James says yes. High altitude clouds are perhaps best described as snow. Huh, interesting. That's okay. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye out for as we get to the winter season. So anyway, so this one's unusual to me because it's forming in the Gulf. Now, maybe that's normal. Maybe hurricanes form in the Gulf, but if I had more information and more time to study, I guess, ocean surface temperatures, assuming that I can trust the data, because with the popular political motives and climate change, that's I think some people, I don't know. I'm not suspicious about all of the raw data, but I am suspicious about the solutions, and I'm suspicious about the politicians who speak out about it. And it's I'm not one of those people who will say that, oh, look, Obama has a house on the beach, therefore climate change isn't real. Because I totally understand that Obama can afford a pump, that he can afford to put sandbags up, he could build a freaking giant waterproof wall, but also that his house in Matt Moffitt's vineyard or wherever the hell it is on the top of a cliff next to the ocean. So it's he's already at some crazy elevation. So it's yeah, it's next to the ocean, but it's also Tony Stark's house. Not Stark of Iron, although he might have a house like that too. Stark of Iron, he's the guy who does the singing, and he's a trooper, man. I gotta say, that guy works hard. He'll put on a show all night on Saturday from I don't know, 11 p.m., 12 p.m., all the way to 6 a.m. my time. I gotta hand it to him. He's a real trooper when it comes to his content creation efforts. Usually, James says, they come in the south and east, not from inside of the Gulf. This hurricane is downright weird. Conspiracy theorist! No, I'm kidding. I'm pulling your leg. Hope I didn't say that outburst too loud. But yeah, so that's seems to be at least 2 out of 2 so far, or 3 out of 3 feel that way right now. So that's interesting. It's gonna be something that I'm gonna be, maybe I should collect data on, collect virtual news clippings, just to kind of maybe build out a story as time goes on. And thank you, David Glenn. That's a relevant link right there. And that's Tony Stark's Stark of Iron's YouTube channel right there. Don't tune in now. Don't touch that clicker. No, I'm pulling you. If you guys don't like my show, you can tune into Tony Stark. Or if I'm boring, you gotta, how do I phrase it? What is it? It's like the market, right? The market of content creation. The people are gonna vote with their feet.
That's the beauty of camp. Everybody has their own interest.
This is true. They probably just leave early, go to someplace else. Yep. That does happen too. What I'll do is if I like a show, or if I'm enjoying a show, I might keep it on in the background, put it on low volume, or put it on while I'm playing a video game, or maybe I'll put it on my phone so that it's not it's coming out of my phone speaker but not my headphones, and maybe I'll listen to music while playing a game while playing it on my phone. But I get a little bit. Honestly, I might have a YouTube problem. I might have to, someone might have to stage an intervention in the next 6 months to, 8 months, maybe after the big Texas meetup. Intervention might need to be staged. You guys might have to run a live stream and tell me get off YouTube, stop watching it, go get a cable TV plan. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Although I do have cable TV, but that's a different topic. Barely watch it, but I have the ability to record it to my home network. Ooh, that's a cool word. I gotta learn how to read. Give me a second. Noctilucent. Oh, noctilucent is the highest clouds. Fascinating. The wealthy in Martha's Vineyard or wherever. Oh, yeah, yep. They probably, yep, that's correct. That's absolutely a good point. And like, I don't think they're gonna keep irreplaceable possessions unsecured. Like, either they're in a vault somewhere, or it's like they got like a really, really well built house that can at least sustain, can at least protect those possessions. So yeah, one way or another, like it's sort of like when when Michael Bloomberg was the mayor of New York City. And he went to Pennsylvania during one of the big hurricanes. I forget which one. It might have been Hurricane Sandy, or it might have been the one before that. But it's like, that's what the elites get to do, is separate themselves from a potentially bad situation. And it is good to see you in your noctilucent mood there, Slim Nim, who has a great content creation channel in his own right. And he recently, he didn't recently, let's see, I'm going to pull up his Slim Nim. There we go. Got him right here. Like, recently I bought the Katamari game. And, oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, shoot. David Glenn's fast today. Well, you're usually fast, but, I mean, sometimes, like, we're on, like, what is it, on Jolly's channel, and you'll be, like, posting something, and I'll, like, post it right before, and you're like, oh, you're a fast man. And it's like, it's like, I'll delete my shit sometimes. I'll be like, oh, man, you went through the trouble. I'm deleting my shit.
It's like playing that card game War or whatever it was, where you're just slamming down cards as fast as you can.
Yeah, man. One of these days I'll get more. I sometimes keep like a notepad file, but it's like I have 3 notepad files. I need to like consolidate.
I've got a spreadsheet.
See, that makes sense. Like that would make a lot of sense for me to do. So anyway, real quick. So okay, what I didn't even mention any of like what we're looking at. So the GOES image viewer. So the GOES satellite is a geostationary satellite. That's why we're getting this nice view of the southern hemisphere, even though we don't necessarily care about the southern hemisphere. It's that the geostationary orbit, which is effectively directly over the equator, is a place where you could throw a satellite up there, and you could essentially match the rotational velocity of the Earth, which, it doesn't matter how many miles per hour it is. It's 15 degrees an hour. So whether you're on the polar region up here or you're on the equator, it's going to be the same 15 degrees per hour. But of course, on a merry-go-round, or airplane propeller or helicopter propeller, the tip of that propeller could be going supersonic or almost supersonic, whereas the inner diameter of that propeller is going to be moving at a significantly slower, speed in terms of miles per hour. And so when you're getting into a debate with a flat Earth enthusiast, bear in mind that like they might say, oh, it's ridiculous, it moves at 3,000 miles per hour. And it's like, well, if they don't understand the concept of degrees per hour, then, you're already arguing from a fallacious position, or you're arguing with someone who may not completely understand what they are arguing. So it's worth keeping that in mind when, debating flat Earth, which, that's another topic. If LCX drops in the chat today, I'm going to bring up some some of the stuff that we discussed today. She actually had a couple of guests on the show, a couple of friends of her channel, and they had like a well-mannered discussion about, just about like giants. I don't know if they were talking about Tataria, but basically like, dude was saying that, oh, they got documentaries of these giants, and LCX is like, yeah, but what evidence is there? And it's like, it's like, it's a double-edged sword because, there's the argument that the giants were, stashed away by the Smithsonian. And that's funny. I was going to call Samsung Microphone and ask them to respond to you. Maybe when I open up another channel, I feel like I need to have a channel where like I don't like, line step so much, but sometimes I say some wild stuff. Sometimes I mean, what did we do? We did something wild a few weeks ago. Like, like there's some wild, if you go back into the archive on the channel, there's some wild stuff that's gone on the channel. Mainly the Japanese car accidents, industrial television, the 1960s Marilyn Monroe stag film. Yeah, like that stuff is buried in the live stream archive there, Like we got some wild stuff from the VHS archive, as a matter of fact. So anyway, I didn't even explain. So Yeah, geostationary satellite, and they launched multiples of these, but essentially they're stationary. So you're gonna see that there's different ones. There's one for the east, there's one for the west. So obviously I'm on the east coast, so I favor the east sector. But the western coast sector would of course give you a better view of both the west coast as well as the Hawaiian Islands, which are critical possessions of the United States, a literal state of the United States. Meanwhile, if you want to see more of what's up here, I believe what it does is you get a distorted view. So because you're looking at the globe from this weird angle, it has to like basically finagle it. So let's see if we could try that out just for experimentation's sake. So we would go Northern Atlantic, and I guess we could do microphysics again. And so like it's like completely different looking map. Like the shape is off. You can even see like the colors like look kind of like not so much pixelated, but they have like a something going on here. Look kind of like they've been distorted. So that's kind of like what I'm talking about. And this is all basically just different tiles from the same full disk image, which is what we were seeing over here. But for our part of the country, my part of the country, and for Florida. So typically when I want to look at my part of the United States real quick, we would do northeast. And what up, Caleb Reynolds? I hope you're having a wonderful day there. We got Caleb Reynolds there, friend of the channel, content creator. I even jumped on his stream once or twice. Let's see here. Northeastern. I always have trouble finding the part that I live at. Here it is. Wait, that's not it. Here it is. Got it. There we go. And you can see like once again, it's a different shape than the Florida map, I think. Yeah, like this one's like a wider map because probably I think the lower you go, it can give you like a more wide view without stretching things out. And that's why we can see like east to west basically. Although once again, the west gets distorted. You can even see the curvature of the earth right over there. But this is like my area now. And I live in the bottom of New York, right next to Long Island and Jersey. So, this is what we get. And I took the cover off my telescope, and I'm reasonably hopeful that it will not rain on my telescope. We'll find out. Stay tuned. But, so bottom line is that's what it is. And you can look up, like, pictures of the GOES satellite. So, for instance, let me just open up GOES. Let's get a picture of one satellite so you guys get an idea of what it is, what it looks like, something, right? And gonna get some generic pictures here. Now they recently upgraded the GOES satellites to have like some solar instrumentation on them. And so, for example, 1975, you got this like ancient looking one called GOES 1 through 3, and just a simple looking like cylindrical thingamajig. The 80s, you have another one that has whatever vertical profiling is. I don't know what that means, but it's a thing. Also, they indicate like spin stabilized. So this satellite would have spun around. Now I don't know how that would have affected the camera image, but it would have been spinning in order to keep itself sort of like gyroscopically stabilized. And then GOES 8 through 12 in 1994. Now this is like something that I believe, it looks similar to the modern one. I don't know if these are still actively in use. It looks like they kind of discontinued them in the 2000s. When we moved on to GOES 13, 14, and 15. I do remember watching them launch these on a space shuttle at one point, or, NASA was launching them on their own smaller rockets. Any questions?
Not yet.
Cool. So, basically, yeah, we got 3-axis stabilized. I'm going to guess it's got like 3 gyroscopes in there. Simultaneous imaging sounding 100% of the time. So, yeah, that's probably like another thing is that like, there might be some limitation, whereas this is spin stabilized. Maybe you can get like one snapshot as the camera is like spinning over the position. Perhaps I can see where they would do all kinds of weird round robin type stuff. And then this one here, improved spectral, spatial, and temporal resolution in imaging. Lightning mapping, that's true. We do have lightning mapping now. We should check out the lightning map right now. Improved space weather monitoring, and that's what I was talking about with regard to the solar imaging capability. Basically, it's a lot like, it's a simplified solar filter, but it's it's like not as good as like the NASA Solar Dynamics Observatory, which is like a dedicated thing that's like literally placed out near the sun, or at least between, like, it's at a Lagrangian point, like kind of way, it's like outside of Earth orbit basically. So we do have like a dedicated solar observatory. But let's see now, real quick. We're gonna start with the colors here. So these are temperatures in Celsius or centigrade, and you can see it's a sliding scale. The right represents dry, the left represents moist and cloudiness. So that green stuff definitely represents clouds, and I'm going to guess that the moisture goes up. What I find interesting is that looks like we got temperatures in the negative numbers. So I guess at whatever altitude that part of the hurricane's upper surface is at, the temperatures are that low. Band 10 key. So band 10 key is the this band shows atmospheric temperatures in Celsius. Values in the red represent a dry atmosphere. Okay, I said that already. And the blue represent relatively moist atmosphere. Values colder than white, including green, represent clouds. Okay, so I guess that means that that's like a dry portion of the hurricane, I suppose. At least the upper part until it becomes water. 7.3 micrometer, lower level water vapor. That one there, 2 kilometer resolution. What that means is that the smallest detail that you can see here is 2 kilometers in size. So like you can see like all these shapes, you can't really distinguish a shape that is smaller than 2 kilometers. And let's see here. Band 10 is water vapor band, meaning it is capable of detecting water vapor at middle to lower portions of the atmosphere. In addition to high clouds, it can detect water vapor lower in the troposphere, or troposphere, depending on your pronunciation, compared to the water vapor band on the Legacy GOES 13 and 15 imager. And, well, what was that again? We had pictures. I closed it. Well, you know, you saw the picture before. It was that one. All right, I'll open it. Okay, so yeah, this crap is better than this crap. Got it. Moving along. And let's see, contain a mixture of water vapor features over many levels of the troposphere, but GOES 16 enables us to focus on water vapor in the upper troposphere, band 8. And we might be able to explain what that is momentarily. Band 9 is middle troposphere, and basically those pull down menus, I'm pretty sure what, you know, we're seeing, like, it's basically using different imaging filters to, like, allow certain light through it. And one of the things about infrared is that it allows you to see through stuff. So one of the things about the James Webb Space Telescope is that, like, you could have a dust cloud in space, and you could have other things that you can't see normally because the light is so redshifted into the infrared that a normal telescope won't see it. But because James Webb is tuned to infrared, you can see those things. Or like on 9/11, Ground Zero in New York was covered in like a cloud of smoke and asbestos and dust and God knows what. And so in order to map the Ground Zero, in order to help with the rescue efforts, one of the things they would do is, and we're going to read this message in a moment, is they would have a helicopter with infrared lasers, and infrared lasers could actually, you know, penetrate, because essentially the wavelengths of infrared light would go between the whatever, you know, droplets or particles are emitting, you know, creating that cloud, and then it would allow them to bounce that laser light off the ground so that they could actually map the surface of the ground. So, you know, it's, I think, in my opinion, it's very similar to that. That's how these things, you know, how a GOES satellite is able to get different levels of the atmosphere at different altitudes. And I do want to say hello to the Peter Venkman fan site, who also says, hey, David, at David Glenn. I remember when Twitter came out, that at symbol stuff confused the crap out of me. I'm like, why are they putting an at symbol at the beginning of the name? It's supposed to go after the name. But then I realized that I was being a boomer, and that's how Twitter worked. I used to know of the altitude. I used to know that the altitude of the top of my head, 33,000 and some change miles, kilometers above the Earth. I used to know that. Of the top of my head, 33,000 and some change miles, or 33,000 feet. No, wait, it can't be. You're right. It can't, I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong unit. Let's find out. Let's look it up. Above the Earth, a geosynchronous satellite. So, what is the altitude of a geosync satellite? Let's take a look. Altitude of.
Be whatever the Lagrangian point is for that.
Well, so that's the thing. I don't think like they're not quite in Lagrangian points, whereas SDO would be. So, like, let's see if we get a good, like, like map of SDO. Just give an example of that, because that's, I think, going to give us like, yeah, there we go. Okay, so like a Lagrangian point would be more like so you got the Earth here, and the moon has like 2 Lagrangian points on either side, although this is not really a scale map. and then you got like stereo A, stereo B. So these are satellites that are opposing Lagrangian points, and essentially they're able to like use their two separate images with the offset to get that stereo, to get that 3D, not really, sort of like 3D, but they're measuring like depth. So if a solar flare is coming out, I believe they're able to measure like where it actually is, And let's see if we can try Lagrangian points for reference. Lagrangian points. I'm sure. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. I was looking at this earlier today. So now let's see. NASA stereo. Yeah, definitely the stereo sats are definitely doing their things at Lagrangian points. And so okay, we got a little video from our tax.
Yay for video.
I paid my tax dollars for the video, and by golly, I'm gonna watch it. There we go. But jokes aside, L4, L5. So anybody who watches Mobile Suit Gundam, the space colonies are often referred to as sides, like side 1, side 2, side 3, and those are actually like synonymous with Lagrangian points. Although I think like side 1 is like Lagrangian 7, or like the numbers aren't a match, but they are real locations, because these are places where you can toss objects or groups of objects up, and you can be assured that they will stay there without crashing into your planet or crashing into something unexpectedly.
See, I've been thinking about this all wrong. Just thanks for the education.
Yeah, no doubt. That's why I bought. Yeah, and I figured it's like, also, I mean, like, for all I know, maybe there is a geostationary Lagrangian point. So let's find out right now. So now, goes and like we're gonna do like this question. So oh shit, James is basically on the money. 33,800 mystery units. So the answer is close, because it's 35 apparently, and maybe this is a variable altitude deal. And I'm using the Google AI answer. I should probably not do that. Let's not do that, because like I don't trust the AI answer. Like, I'm sorry, like you got a bunch of idiots on the internet like posting things on forums, and then the AI models are being trained off of it. Like, I'm just not with it. But actually, if that's accurate, if that's the scale, that's a significant altitude orbit, that 33,000 feet, and that does make sense, because I mean, you're trying to move at 15 degrees per hour, and I can see where it'd be challenging to do that any closer. I mean, maybe it's literally impossible to do that. I'm not an expert, but that kind of makes sense. Cool. And then what is this? Oh, and then you got nerds who point their telescopes up to take pictures of the streaks. That's kind of cool, I guess, if I got really bored.
The way I had been thinking of this is that what you're showing here is the first point, and then there's another point like 2 to 4 times farther out that also is a stationary.
Yeah. See, that would be like see, Lagrangian points are sort of like that, but like they're like sort of outside. As I understand it, some of them are sort of out of Earth orbit. Although, don't quote me on that, because even when you're far away, you don't necessarily leave the influence of the Earth's gravity. It's just that something else cancels out that gravitational influence based on how close you are or how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so anyway, so bottom line is, yeah, that's what we got. Let's click on this picture that may or may not be correct. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I did not know this. Okay, so geostationary orbit is running along the belt. It's an inclination of 0. It just means it's literally running along the belt of the equator. And geosynchronous orbit, which I wasn't, it sounds like a term I've heard before, but it's almost more like it goes diagonally up and down, or it's still like, it's somewhat. I don't think the declination of that orbit changes. So on many orbits, I think like what happens is that this red line will gradually persist, so that like first you're moving like this. It's like first you're doing this, then you're doing this, then you're doing that, then you're doing that. It's like some weird crap. But
that's where you get the wavy orbits when you map it out on the
that used to confuse the shit out of me. That's exactly, yep. I was thinking that. I'm glad you mentioned it, because there we go. This thing here, because like this initially looks counterintuitive, but this is like, what it is. Okay, that's good. I'm glad it didn't load. But it's a very common map. Yeah, there we go. We got like different versions of this, but yeah, it's like literally it. And so it looks counterintuitive, but once you plot this shape on a globe, or if you were to roll up this printout on a cylindrical shape and kind of bend it over itself, these wavy lines would no longer be so wavy. But you can see how, like, on the first orbit, it's like flying over, Panama. Then on the next orbit, it's flying over this part of South America. And on the next orbit, it's flying over Brazil or whatever this is, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, what I kind of had in mind. And then if you play KSP, Kerbal Space Program, you can experience orbital mechanics with your own eyes and hands and electronics. I don't think so. Those are much higher and therefore in retrograde orbit. Which ones? Band 8. The pop stars are already doing a benefit show. Band 8. It does sound like Studio 54 or something like that. Hey, what's up, Miss Martin Muses? Yo, Miss Martin Muses had like a really cool video about the Wangs of Power and the Silmarillion. And I only just started reading the Silmarillion, but I appreciated the insights in that video because I know I didn't like what I saw when I tried to watch it. I mean, like, my time is valuable. Well, my time is not valuable per se, but I'd have to rewatch Mobile Suit Gundam for the 50th time than watch Rings of Power and not enjoy it or slog through it. Like, I enjoyed the Lord of the Rings. I enjoyed the Hobbit. I know they get their criticism, but I enjoyed the Hobbit trilogy, at least the movie version. And if anybody has a 48 frames per second version of the Hobbit, yeah, that I would be interested in that, and not fake 48 frames per second. I want the one that was in the movie theater. Like, if someone stole the film can and took it home, I want that version of the Hobbit. So yeah, someone let me know. I'm not advocating stealing film stock, but if you already got it, let me know. I'll take a digital copy, of course. I'm not that picky. But when they released the Hobbit trilogy, Dave, they did it at like 48 frames per second, which is double the standard 24 FPS. And a lot of people didn't like it. And I understand where they're coming from, but I kind of like having a modern display that can, do these things. And so I would have loved to be able to watch it like that. So anyway, let's see here now. Let's get back to analysis of the meteorology. So bottom line is, yeah, we got that blue stuff. But let's go ahead and now do our mid-level water vapor. And that was the lower band, so that would have been closer to the ground. And this is a map I use normally, like in the north for astrophotography. So, for example, right now, that white stuff over New York is indicating, yeah, that's going to have some annoying refractive properties in my area. Oh, the Lagrangian, I got you. I don't think so. Those are much. Yes, that is correct. That is absolutely correct. Okay, so, yeah, that is confirmed, James. As we were going over, we confirmed. So, yeah, geostationary orbit, geosync orbit are completely different, or at least different from Lagrangian points, which are indeed not only much higher, but literally or practically in solar orbit. And I say practically because there is a relationship with the Earth's gravitational field there, and maybe one day I'll read about it, and then I can talk about it in a more informed manner. Yep, orbital altitude. Yep, there we go. Thank you, Dave. Even subscribe to Caleb. Caleb's got quality. He's got great talks on his channel. I heard those are no bueno. Wangs of Power redo. Yeah, that's correct. I believe they're no bueno. And I've heard mixed reviews about the Silmarillion, but you know what? I enjoyed the books. I liked how they hashed out more detail. I was a little confused about who this Tom Bombadil guy was, but then I realized oh no, he's a thing. He's kind of a significant part of the book, actually. But next time I reread the Fellowship, I'll actually be able to pay attention to who Tom Bombadil is. Whereas the first time I read it, I think I discounted Bombadil and just kind of went forward with it, just kind of move forward because it's a long read, So let's see here.
Yeah, I believe he saves the hobbits from both trees and barrel whites.
I think so. I mean, I honestly don't know off the top of my head, but I wouldn't doubt it. And when I read it, I'll be able to confirm it. And by read it, I mean play the audiobook. Audiobooks are great, I swear. Like one is like I think I'd be blind if I read that many as many books as audio books that I read. I would be blind by now. But I mean, I understand why people don't love audio books, but what I like is the ability to buy both of them and like kind of alternate between the audio and the ebook. I think that's like kind of ideal because you might be in a situation where you can't listen, but you're able to read it. And you know, it's like, yeah, it's good to have options. So let's see here. 6.2 micrometer. Band 8 shows the atmospheric temperatures in centigrade Celsius. I don't know if that's the same thing. Values in the red to yellow represent a dry atmo. Okay, we've been over that. 6.2 micrometer. Upper level water vapor. Band 2 kilometer resolution. Band 8 will be used for the upper level tropospheric. Is this just a rehash of the crap I just read? The imager features 3 mid-level water. Oh yeah, this is yeah. It's describing all 3 levels of like literally what that's describing. We already read it. It's describing lower, mid, and upper. So pretty much, you know, let's go ahead and cycle through those real quick. Okay, we got like more of the orange stuff. And so at each of these altitudes, you got a different water vapor content essentially. But the hurricane, it looks like it's kind of persistent. What we see in all 3 of those. I mean, we see green and white. So that's kind of like interesting. And we're gonna jump over to shortwave infrared because I have a feeling. Yep, and my feeling is right. We see something different, and the answer is indeed Tom Bombadil. I said that in non-English. Tom Bombadil does indeed save our friends, the hobbits, from the trees and the other aforementioned foe or danger. Thank you, Miss Martin Muses. Well, I mentioned the relationship between altitude and orbital time. Like Mercury has a fast orbit and Venus also. The furthest out the planet, the longer the orbit. That is correct. Yeah, that is true. Just like how like Pluto is like on a 200 and something year orbit, or Jupiter's like I think on a 10-year orbit. It's a pretty Jupiter's not like actually that long. It's long, but it's like 10 years. It's not like totally insane. But you get like further Neptune, Uranus. Uranus has a hell of an orbit, James. I mean, just saying. Okay, I'm pulling you. I just love making Uranus jokes. But like you get to the dwarf planets, and so you know Pluto's a dwarf planet nowadays, and that's like, but it's closer to the plane of the ecliptic, and we've covered this on the channel before when using when reviewing Space Engine. I would love to go into that right now, but you know I don't, you know, ADD, right? But like you know the other dwarf planets include Eris. Eris is on like a 600-year orbit, and then Sedna, which is considered an asteroid, but it basically is a dwarf planet, is on a 12,000-year highly elliptical orbit. Like, so granted, like at that point, it's either not under the solar influence, it's not under the sun's gravitational influence quite the same as the, you know, objects that are on a smaller orbit. But it's still subject to it to some extent. You know, it's, how do I phrase this? Like, well, you know, bottom line is that, yeah, like, not only do the orbits get longer, but you get to a point where they start to get, like, more elliptical, or they get more, like, off the plane of the ecliptic. So instead of being on that nice, flat planetary disk, you start to get, like, planets on these, like, lopsided angles. So you got Haumea, Makemake, Eris. Those are all on weird angles. And then you got Sedna, which is just on a crazy elliptical orbit. Like, insane. Like I said, 12,000 years versus 600 years. But getting back on topic, this looks interesting to me because, I'm looking at this and I'm just seeing like the static pattern. So what we're going to pause it at the last frame. I'm going to open that image in a new thing. And we can also turn on the rockers. So some of the controls you see up here. Now, when you first open this, if your internet connection is a little bit slower, if you're on a mobile phone, it takes like a minute to load because each of these frames that we see playing smoothly right now, initially they'll play very slowly as they load. But once all of the frames load, then it'll be able to play it in a loop, and you can even control the speed like this. And when you control the speed, you start to get this like really smooth pattern. Another thing we could do is we can like do the loop. So what this does is just means the length of time. So this is all in UTC time, or I guess Zulu time. So you know just do the time conversion. But essentially,
I like that. That rocker effect, I like that a lot better than the GIF starting over.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do something cool.
Yeah.
We're going to extend the length of the sequence. So by clicking on the loop pull down menu, we get, oh my gosh, what was it? Okay, so I can answer, I know there's a weird phenomenon, and I can answer what it is. So we're going to make this long. We're going to make it 120 now. I don't know if that's 120 minutes or 120 something, like in Battlestar Galactica, they have a unit of time. Maybe it's one of their units of time. But I believe that color change that you see that looks really crazy is just the sunset. Like it's the Terminator line, the shadow as the Earth rotates and the sun sets. So it's not anything nefarious, but boy, does it look nefarious. And I wonder if there's something here like, I wonder if the temperature changes because like, that looks like it's representing a temperature change as the sun sets. That's I find that interesting. So, just for reference, like, yeah, this is like that dark stuff, but because I put the time loop in way back, we could see what it looked like before the sunset. And we're going to put on the rocker animation. And, usually a rocker is going to wear a wallet with a chain coming out the back, right? I love the Peter Benjamin fan site. I hope one day we get a battle royale between the Peter Venkman fan site and the Peter Benjamin fan site. Gotta love autocorrect. I might listen to a book if the reader has a voice I like. So what you're saying is you want me to start reading audiobooks. Got you. That would be awful. That would be like not awful, but that'd be a little weird. Like if I actually sat down and recorded like a 12-hour book and then like sent it to people. It could work. Let's see here. James can't remember the name of that phenomenon, but there is a mathematical relationship between the planetary orbits. Ah, interesting. I believe I know that. I know about the planetary relationship between the planetary orbits. I know the term. It's complicated. Yeah, you ever see that on Facebook when people have their profile and it says it's complicated? It's like, shit, man, do you have to broadcast that?
Like some things you should keep to yourself.
Like things are not going well when you got your like relationship photo and then it says it's complicated in the corner. It's like, oh boy. Like just keep it less complicated, unless that's a way of saying like I'm semi-single and I'm ready to mingle. Maybe that's what they mean by it's complicated. Like, holla at me, holla at me, but do it on the DL. Hit me up on a DM. Don't put it in a comment. Oh god, it's terrible. But I prefer reading the printed word myself. I could dig that. I respect that. I prefer, I love when I bought a Dega Outlaws book because he had like a large print edition. I was like, hell yeah, man. Give me a large print edition, man. Like, just make my life easier. Make it easier on the eyes. Although I do like those e-readers with the e-ink display. Those are pretty cool. The only issue with them is that, like, the Amazon ones don't have a very big screen. And to get one with a very big screen, it starts to get a bit cost prohibitive. But I am a big fan of e-ink. And when we get e-ink displays that are, like, textbook size, I think it'll be very, very useful. But of course, the textbook industry wants these college students to freaking lug books in their bags, I'm sure. Let's see here. Wait, that's where the Enterprise hangs around, searching for Klingons. Da, 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 da. I can do the song. It's been a crazy long time since I've read The Hobbit. I thought Bilbo pretty much traveled with the dwarves for The Hobbit, unless you're talking about the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He did, yeah, in The Hobbit, he did travel with that's correct. And in the Lord of the Rings, I was talking about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but Bilbo did travel with the dwarves in the Hobbit books as well. I've been enjoying the channel's Aggro Squirrel Narrates. Yeah, so first time you mentioned Aggro Squirrel Narrates, I'm like, who is that guy? But he's pretty cool, actually. He's a pretty good Aggro Squirrel. He's like just like literally the guy's name comes right up in the search. I mean, I haven't really listened to many of his stories, but he's pretty good, and he's got a good reading voice. And I think there's a lot of people on YouTube who could do the like audiobook thing, but they're doing their own stories, or they're doing generated stories, and they do a pretty good job. And then there's people on YouTube. I have this firm belief that YouTube is a terrible place to read. Like I used to listen to like a lot of the Warhammer 40K channels, and like I remember like one channel was pretty good. I think it was a One Mind Syndicate. But then I found out later on they had a bad rap on Reddit because like they were known for like just rehashing or reading whatever was on the Wikia page. So it's like, okay, well, the guy has a good reading voice, but it's like you're not adding too much value if you're just reading the wiki page. But God bless them if they got popular anyway. But my point is, what is my point? Yeah, the kid would pronounce a lot of words wrong. Like it wasn't a big deal. He was well spoken. He spoke clearly. It's just that certain words were pronounced wrong. And I think about like if I was a kid in the TV age, like I watched Star Trek: The Next Generation. They know how to read on Star Trek, you know? And like that's like something that like I think kids should watch Star Trek: The Next Generation and learn to read that way before watching YouTube.
I used Star Trek Next Generation as a during an job interview as an example of a work environment that I would like to be in, where everybody knew their job and they did it and they were professional and yada yada yada.
Yeah, I remember Worf was talking about like how like he has trust issues, but he has to trust a lot of people on that ship, you know, with his life, you know. And so I remember during a job interview, I was asked a question about loss prevention, and I just had the memory of like the when Picard gave one of his speeches about how throughout history people, you know, did egregious things under the pretense or pretext of just following orders, and I somehow turned that into like a good answer to the question of would you rat out a coworker if they were stealing from the store? And I know that's like not related at all, but I had Picard's speech in my head and I was able to like tailor that to that scenario, and it helped. Yeah, so it's good. And did you get the job?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, me too.
It was a really good job until it wasn't.
Yep. Yeah. I'll tell you all. Every time Morgan Freeman narrates a sunset or sunrise, he earns a freckle. Every time I narrate a sunrise or sunset, I don't know. Okay, I don't know if I'm doing a Morgan Freeman voice right, but I feel like I had the cadence down for like about 2 seconds.
I tried to do an impression one time, but when I pulled my thumb out of the cup of water, it didn't leave a hole. Okay, that's a bad joke. I'm sorry.
No, I love a bad joke, man. If that's an off-color joke, I'm all for it.
No, it's not off-color. It's topological.
Topological. I don't know. Now I'm gonna be playing with water tomorrow. I'm gonna take a cup of water. I'm gonna be sitting there at my desk tomorrow. And be like, how do I do this? Then I'm gonna
Somebody once did an insult or insulted me actually, and told me something like, if you want to see what kind of impression you make on other people, stick your thumb in a cup of water, pull it back out, and see what's left. But they phrased it in such a way that it actually burned. So.
Oh shit! Oh, I would think that would be like an impossible one to make to burn, but damn, I gotta confess that's might be some oration skill there.
Yeah, there was.
I hate getting insulted by people who are good with words, man. You know, I went to a computer hacker meeting and there was this guy, man. I was like, oh, I got the same camera lens. Like, no, you don't. This is the only Nikon lens that's measured in inches instead of millimeters. I'm like, all right, chill. I just look the same. And it was kind of cool, actually, but like, I felt so violated, which in retrospect, I probably didn't need to feel so violated. Like, I didn't act butthurt, but I was just like taken aback, like, boy, man, like, couldn't you just say that? Like, you know, in my head, I'm thinking like, you know, it's like another way to say this, man. You know, then I had a flashback as to why that guy, that might have been the kid whose laptop was, he had an NEC. It might have been the same kid. So I went to a 2600 meeting when I was in my 20s, and I went to a hacker meeting when I was 12. And when I was 12, there was this kid. He had like a NEC Windows CE fake laptop, like a Palm Top, an NEC Mobile Pro, used as a Wi-Fi hotspot. And I was like, I saw it like behind the couch. I was like, oh, I want to play with this thing, but it was like booted into Linux. So I was like, oh, I don't know how to use this shit. So I pulled a battery out to reboot the thing. And 5 minutes later, this kid shows up like, oh, like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like, and it's like one of those computers where I don't know if like, I don't even know if he could boot it up without restoring a memory card backup. He's like with these PDAs, these Windows CE devices, these old Pocket PCs, like you take the battery out and like, if you don't have a watch battery in there to like store the memory, like you got to restore that shit. And chances are he probably bootstrapped that thing a certain way too. So, I mean, I'm sure he worked it out, but if that kid happened to remember me years later as an adult, that might be why. That might be a factor in the way he responded to me about the camera there. And I can empathize a little bit. Dawn, I was just thinking
of...
Mm-hmm.
Was that a Palm Pilot that you just held up?
Yeah, this was similar. This is a whatchamacallit. This is actually one of the best iPacks. One of these days I gotta do like a proper video about these, but this is a iPack HX4700, and I do have to replace the internal clock battery, but that's why I have I was able to restore the memory card. And this was actually like the pinnacle of Windows CE devices, where like I could put movies on here and they play smoothly at the full frame rate, but then like the other ones that like are older, like, so this would be like actually the first one I owned, and one of these days, let's see if this turns out. Oh, I gotta put the battery. Okay, this has a punk waddle wallpaper. This has a black and white screen and a punk waddle wallpaper, but I'll have to swap the batteries out and later on, and restore the backup. And then this is the color version, which also needs some battery charge loving, which I'm gonna do that tomorrow because I don't want to leave it plugged in overnight while I'm at work and then have it go on fire. But yeah, so bottom line is like this one can play videos, but this one's a bit more like you got to make sure you get your video encoding right and tweak it, but it'll play them fine at 320 by 240. The nice one will play them at 640 by 480 quite nicely, like, so the anime looks beautiful on it. It looks really good on it. And then this one here is like, I was able to get some black and white movies on here. I Love Lucy, but I had to do some like nasty things to the video to get it to play somewhat smoothly, like it's not really geared towards video playback, but it's got a memory card slot, and apparently it can use cards bigger than the specs. So it says in the specs it can do up to 256 megabyte, but apparently you can put a 16 gig card in there, just that you got to partition it. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. I was like, okay, that was like nice. That was a relief. I was a little worried that it wouldn't support like more than like a 200 mega memory card, and the problem is when you're doing like MPEG 1, you're gonna have like you're not gonna be able to get that compression down. It's not like MPEG 4. You can get like really good compression and get really good quality at like 640 by 480, but like not gonna happen on that. But speaking of artifacts, so I have this fan hanging from the mountain cliff behind me. Oh god, did I almost pull down my green screen? Oh, that would have sucked. But anyway. This is crazy. So I was going to my astronomical computer out back, and real quick, Dawn, I was just thinking about reading Beatrix Potter books on YouTube, and you still can. I would love. I've heard Venkman's voice on stream before. I think Venkman would do a great reading, and I would tune into that, and I would subscribe, and I would hit the like button, and I would even leave honest comments. But this right here is the fan from my backyard PC. It's in like an outdoor electrical enclosure, and it's served me really well, but during the summer I had to put a fan in there because obviously it's got a blue screen. It's going to shut off automatically when it gets kind of toasty. But look, notice this doesn't spin anymore. Like fans supposed to move freely, right? Like that definitely, you definitely see what I'm talking about, right? Like this thing is not like, it's taking force. Like this is like literally like gunked up, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if like the humidity got to it or if it's just like pollen. I'm gonna guess it's pollen, but at some point I'm gonna rip this open, or I don't know. I'm either gonna oil it or rip it open. I'm not sure which, but this is interesting.
That should be a brushless motor, shouldn't it?
I guess so, but I mean I see like these little copper windings in there. So are those brushes? I honestly don't know.
The brushes will be little pieces of carbon that are pushed against the rotor with a spring.
I don't see any evidence of them.
Okay, well, there's brushless, and then there's the old style motors with brushes. And anyways, if it had brushes in there, that may be the reason why it's...
Well, we can see that. That's all. I would rip it apart, but I'll probably just injure myself right now. But, well, you can see that little copper in there a little bit, right? Yeah, let's get a nice look in there. There we go. You can see the copper now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I don't think that's the brushes. Those are just windings. But yeah. Anyway, so luckily we're going into the cold season, and I don't know. I don't even remember. I don't think I wrote. Did I write that down? I don't know if that's 2019. That's got to be 2019. So at some point, is that my handwriting? Is my handwriting that good? Oh yeah, that's my handwriting. Yeah, I guess that's 2019. This came with what did it come with? Who knows? Anyway, that's besides the point. I think I bought these separately. That's some of the
5 years is not bad for.
Yeah,
for
like,
that.
well, they served indoors for most of their lifespan. They only spent a few months outdoors in the summertime. So yeah, I mean, by that logic, I think they I can't really knock the fans for like succumbing to outdoor conditions. I read my mom's college books as a kid. Nerds. That's what Baron Norman Tag says whenever I tune into him in Pacific 414. I'm like, nerds, and then something about turtles. How are my turtles? Let's check on them. Actually, I don't have any live video of the turtle, but we can look at Poffy. Such a lovely face. Oops, infinite screen. Some of those AI and TTS channels, although, if you want to see tits, tune into Jolly on Saturday, channels are complete trash and will melt your brain with all the alternate spellings and pronunciation. Yes, exactly. Really, that's what I'm talking about. Like the inability to read, including the like AI and TTS stuff now, it's like making the problem a bit worse with the pronunciation issues. I always thought my normal voice sounded weird. Everyone does. So there's a science behind that. Agro photographer overreacts. Huh. But there's actually a science behind that. So basically, what it is like you hearing your own voice inside your head, because I felt the same way for a long time. That's like why, like when I bought my microphone, I was like very cautious. I was like testing this shit out. I was tweaking the volume setting. I was good, like talking to myself, like testing 1, 2, and playing it back like over and over again until I was comfortable. And luckily, one of the things I did was I Googled it or I went on Quora, and basically the answer was that when you hear your own voice, you're basically hearing it from inside your own head, so it's going to sound deeper. And as a result, when you hear a recording right off the bat, you're going to be thrown back. You're going to be like, whoa, that is not the same voice. Do I sound like that to other people? And of course, other people don't care, don't notice because like they're used to it. But it's an adjustment. And once you realize that, no, you don't sound like weirder than you normally do to other people. Like if you think you sound weird on a speaker, well, just bear in mind you always sound weird. Therefore, it's like baseline normal, or at least that's for me, But yeah, so that's the answer though. So bottom line is, yeah, it's not anything to really worry about, but it's definitely a reason why I've done like my fair share of practicing so that I can make sure I come across in a way that I'm comfortable hearing if I was to put myself on a TV, which I don't necessarily always do, but if I did and I wasn't alone, I am generally going to be comfortable with that. So yeah, and there we go. Let's to the Peter Venkman fan site at youtube.com, the Peter Venkman fan site. And one of these days I'm gonna start an OnlyFans site for my turtles. Then I'm gonna start an OnlyFans site. It's gonna be like the Peter Venkman fan site. So it's gonna be like a fan club site for the fan site. One of these days.
That's pretty meta.
Yeah, I think that OnlyFans was trying to go in a safer work direction, but realistically, like that's like their main bread and butter. Like nobody's paying subscriptions to like fucking read the news on OnlyFans. It's like they go in there for tits or some combination thereof. And maybe simping because then they chat with the girl and then the girl is like, and then they're like, oh, she responded, and then they send. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so back to the hurricane. News channel 0 here. Okay. ADD mode disengaged.
Do any of these satellites also sweep the water or the surface temperature of the water?
I don't know if the GOES satellites do that, but I mean, I know they do have satellites like Earth observation satellites that do it. Maybe we could check one of the we'll check one of these, see if there's anything to indicate that. So anyway, let's slow down the rocker a little bit. And then we got this black and white fuzz, which looks like it's somewhere between here and here. So -13 to +13 degrees Celsius. And then earlier we had this blue crap. So the blue and dark blue. Yeah, so basically it's like the temperature, okay? So I'm not really, I don't fully understand what the meaning of that is, like, how the temperature matters. But, we got, like, when you go to this link, I'll just drop it real quick so you guys have it. At the bottom of each of these. So the way this works, just for reference, is when you're on this page, the pull-down menu represents the different types of maps, the different types of imaging features on the satellite. And with each one, when you scroll down, you'll have a PDF document on just about most of them, if not all, that goes into greater detail, like on how it works, the rationale, the colors, why the colors are there, what they actually mean, and whether or not there's a difference between daytime and nighttime. And then the nanometers are basically like similar to the EM spectrum on a prism, like just like the Pink Floyd album. That's what you're looking at over here. You're looking at probably an invisible color, but nonetheless, this is Pink Floyd. But let's go up. Let's see what else we got. So we got cloud particles, near infrared cloud particles, which they call it near infrared, but I would call it far infrared because I believe near infrared is like not visible to us. And as you can see, it often is seen in black and white. And yeah, the hurricane's totally there. Interestingly, near infrared does not show us anything at night. So this is one of those maps that doesn't really do anything for you at night.
Microwaves always got me because the actual waveform is quite long. I always thought that was kind of an oxymoron.
Yeah, I wonder if, do we have microwaves here? Oh, yeah, shoot, you're right, because you know what is okay, so this got me too, because like I remember learning like that long wavelengths, short wavelengths, but then it's like the wave height, and I don't know, it's like they use like they're using like the opposite axis to judge what to name it or some crap, you know, like
yeah.
Oh. I just got pictures of microwave ovens. And then this is actually a good example here. So there you go. You got your visible light spectrum, you know, red, blue, green. And I'm on a Chinese website, which means they're spying on me. No, I'm kidding. But jokes aside, that's visible light. So when I'm doing astrophotography in normal colors, I'm literally looking at like pretty much everything from like here to here. And then if I want to see something like infrared light that, you know, and block out unwanted wavelengths, it's going to be from this area here. And then near infrared, I think is like somewhere like off the edge of this or at the extreme edge of what the human can see. And then we were measuring microwaves. So it's like, yeah, like those don't look micro at all. Like those are like the opposite of micro. So I get what you're saying. And I can't even rationalize it. I don't have a rationale. Although if I had to rationalize it, I would say, looking at the numbers, 10 to the 12, 10 to the 14th. So we get the higher frequency. So microwaves are lower frequency. That's the answer. Okay. So lower because high frequency is because the peaks are like more frequent, high frequency. Low frequency is that the peak is less frequent. So that must be the logic behind micro, which I mean still doesn't really, doesn't really satisfy me, but I kind of get it, you know?
Yeah.
So for those viewing, if I've made you guys more confused, I apologize. Yeah, and this is actually really useful because it's like a nice little visual aid, and the only person who has visual aids is Mike Roach. Yo, I took a picture of a pumpkin upstate that had like monkeypox. I took a picture. I posted it on my channel actually. Yeah, it was like let's see. I gotta pull that up real quick. Oh, Anime Night 1992 is on. If you guys want to jump ship, check out Anime Night 1992. And when I end my show, I'm gonna probably tune into. Wait, is that tomorrow? Oh, that's next week. But Deleted Scenes, he's a cool dude too. Let's see here. So I'm gonna pull up my channel, my Chanel. Wow, that's a great thumbnail. I gotta say, I made a beautiful thumbnail tonight. It is the best. It is a tremendous thumbnail, David Glenn. It is beautiful. It is the most beautiful thumbnail ever. I think that I did a very good job. I'm not doing a voice right now, but you get my drift. Yeah, see, like that's my watch. Right? Looks just like him. That's his spirit animal. That's why I tagged Snowdub. And then I got a few comments from a friend who was like, Snowdub is my best friend. And I know who this is too. That's hilarious. Wait, did he delete his comments? Okay, he only deleted 2 of his comments. It's Snowdub's best friend. But we also got James, and we got Tony Stark, the CEO of Stark Industries, and the person who runs the channel. Now, these things are going to be posted soon. I'm going to show these in greater detail next week. But this is smartphone astrophotography. So basically, what I did was on a Samsung phone, you can open up the Pro camera mode, and that lets you do up to a 30-second time exposure. It lets you control the ISO, which is how sensitive to light the camera's image sensor is. And then what I was having trouble with was I was putting the phone on the edge of a barbecue facing up, and I would press the button and I would hope that I didn't shake it while I was taking a picture. But of course, inevitably the camera would shake and stuff. And the barbecue had like moisture on the nylon cover, so sometimes that would activate the touch screen, and that would get in my way. So what I ended up doing was, it occurred to me midway through that this is how I started the hobby. Put the camera on a timer, you know, a 10-second timer, like when you're doing like a selfie with a group of people or whatever, and you have the camera on a tripod. And once I did that, all I had to do is like hit the button, put the phone on the ground face down on the rocks, and then it would point up at the sky and do the 30-second exposure. And so what you're seeing here is you're seeing like so number one, in upstate New York, you're going to see more stars than you see in, you know, Staten Island, in Brooklyn, in Manhattan. You're going to see more stars than any light polluted urban center. But when you have a camera keeping the shutter open for multiple seconds at a time, it's going to collect even more photons. In other words, you're going to see even more stars than what you can already see. So whether I'm looking at my sky where I can only see a handful of stars, or the sky upstate where I can see a lot more stars, when you have the camera shutter open for a while, you're going to see a lot more stars. And so that looks relevant. I'm going to check that out in a moment. So, you know, like, basically, like, you're seeing this dark area here. That's not cloud cover. That's actually like the inner disk of the Milky Way. And there we go. This is another angle. You can see it's cutting diagonally across. And this one's more on the edge. And really, I didn't have precise control. I just kind of put the phone on the ground and, you know, the chips fell where they went. But yeah, we're basically looking at our Milky Way galaxy from inside. And so the less light pollution you have, the better of a chance you have of being able to see that. And then, you know, sometimes you can even see some colors in it. You can see nebulas. And in my case, these pictures don't actually show the, I actually got a picture of Andromeda in those pictures. I got the spiral galaxy, yeah, like, you know, our nearest neighbor galaxy. So expect to see those pictures next week, or maybe I'll do a little video during the week and showcase them, because I did pretty well. The only caveat is there's an app called Samsung Expert Raw. And that app can do like 4-minute time exposures. Gives you a little bit more control. But once you get to like long exposures, you got to, you know, now you're going to have the Earth rotating. And so luckily, a telescope, a camera phone is a relatively wide angle. So the Earth's rotation might not really impact it too much. But what I might do as an experiment is put my telescope, put my phone on the front of my telescope, just strap it on, and, you know, let the mount rotate, you know, to counter the rotation. So I don't know, I'm going to play around with that, but I do have a picture where you see all of this crap, plus a star cluster, plus like a random spiral galaxy, like in the backdrop. It's not like extra detail, but it's like, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the result there. And then I'm hearing voice. That's Caleb, not Caleb, that's Anime Night 1992. And we have his channel in the chat. Or we might have a channel, but he's good.
Is there any software that will piece together several exposures in a row to give you a composite photo?
That's a good question. So actually, interestingly, the Samsung Expert Raw app had this capability, but it just kept giving me really shitty photos. And that was because I didn't even really get to use the Expert Raw app until the morning after, when it was too late to do any astro. So I didn't really get an opportunity to, you know, do it, you know, but I did try taking a picture of like trees, you know, like, and stuff. And it like could do like 2 or 4 or 7 picture stacking. And I must not be using it right, or it could be possible that it only works when you put the camera on a tripod. So I plan to explore that some more. But what I could do is, if I had the camera, I could probably, if I took multiple identical pictures of the same part of the sky, like, and one way I would do this is if I had the Galaxy pen, the good one, because I got a knockoff pen. The pen on my phone has a remote camera clicker, basically, right? Or at least if I bought the replacement pen that I lost. And so theoretically, if I took multiple pictures pointing at the same part of the sky, I could stack those using the same process that I use for image stacking, using the Deep Sky Stacker. And so, yeah, that would, if I had more thought behind it, that's what I would have done. And that's something I might do in my own backyard. But like I said, next time I go upstate, I'm definitely going to try that, because I believe it is possible, David. Now, the other challenge is that typically I do this on a black and white sensor. On a color sensor, there's going to be other challenges, but there's techniques for that. So yeah, short answer, yes, it is possible. Although I don't think I took enough pictures to do it, and I didn't take enough pictures like of the fidelity. But what would be cool is I focused on doing 30-second exposures with ISO 1600 or 3200, and at ISO 3200 it gets really grainy. But you get more stuff, you get more detail. Now a trick I could do is to help deal with light pollution or to help mitigate the noise that's generated by the image sensor doing its thing and the heat, is take maybe like multiple 10-second exposures and stack those, and that would give me maybe like better dynamic range on a shorter exposure time. Maybe I get okay contrast with less graininess on shorter. So basically take more numerous short exposures as opposed to taking like fewer long exposures, so yeah, that's something I would like to explore, but I don't think it's going to be worthwhile here because I'm just going to have that sky glow getting in my way. But maybe if I throw in a light pollution filter, maybe if I get like another light pollution filter down the road, I could just put it in front of my phone lens and try it out, so yeah, it might be fun, might be frustrating,
Well, yeah, in the city, yeah.
Yeah, win some, lose some, Now, I want to know what Dave posted, not Dave, Slim posted before I I'm going to do the power dash through the pull down menu, and then we're going to wrap it up. And maybe I'll give some closing arguments if we have any thoughts about the hurricane prediction. Oh, wait, I got to put on music. All right, so I'm going to put you on mute for a second because I did not set my shit up correctly. No, okay. Jokes aside, yeah, so there's like this weird caveat where if I share my desktop audio, your microphone goes through the desktop audio, so of course it's going to echo through, right? So to share music, but yeah, we're just going to drop the link. Okay, so I'm going to describe the song. I don't want to do the audio muting. Oh, that's so cute, though. Oh. Okay, so that bird's playing guitar. It's playing... Oh, I got a better idea. Oh, my God. That was adorable and lovely. Yeah, so basically the way my audio is set up is if I had my other microphone hooked up by USB, I could use it as a second sound card, and then I could just tell the sound from YouTube to go through the second sound card, and then I would just tell OBS to share that audio, and then that's how I'd be able to have you on a separate audio device from that. But since I don't have that plugged in right now, it would just mean that I'd have to mute you, or I'd have to run the risk of having echoes, and why bother? Yeah, But that is a cute. What is that? A bird? That's a bird. Yeah, it's a clever bird. It must be AI.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Doodles.
Yeah.
I see those things all the time. People love drawing arms on birds.
The absurdity. It's so cute though. So yeah, real quick. Okay, let's power hour or whatever they call it. I don't know what the right term is, but we're going to power through this. So yeah, bottom line, infrared, snow, ice. Read the document at the bottom. Near IR, cirrus. That is cirrus, not circus, although circus clouds would be cool. Unless you're afraid of clowns.
And elephants.
And what?
Elephants.
Oh yeah, elephants too. Yeah, I mean, I would be afraid of elephants because they don't treat them well in the circus. They whip them and they put chains on them. Like, it's not like the movie. Yo, dude, I read about the movie Operation Dumbo Drop because I mean, that's a hilarious concept. I don't care how dopey the movie is. That's a funny concept, and it is based on a real operation. But in the Vietnam War, what they did was they loaded the elephant, like tranquilized the elephant, and loaded it on like a cargo net, and gently like hoisted the elephant. So it's not like in the movie Operation Dumbo Drop where they have this platform or pallet with the elephant standing on it wide awake while being dropped from the air. Like they didn't do it like that. So it's like. But I appreciate the absurdity of that movie, even though the actors probably, felt like they were slogging through hell. And they had Ray Liotta in there and a couple other guys, weirdly enough. Basically gangster movie actors in a Disney movie. Now, Veggie Band. This is the one that's supposed to show veggies, I believe. Near infrared and reflective band. So, like, basically light. Will be used for detecting daytime clouds, fog, and aerosols for calculating normalized difference vegetation index, hence the nickname Veggie Band. So some of these bands are just not useful at nighttime, or not.
That'd be for like tracking plant respiration and
yeah, like
that.
as I understand it, I believe that's what it's for. And it seems like because we even see like if we look at the Carolinas here, like you see right over here, like if we look at Georgia, we're gonna see like this sprinkling that stuff right there. So it must mean something, and I don't know if that's the stuff that comes out when the trees are perspiring. I have no idea. I'm just talking out of my rectum there. And then we
Well,
got.
you're doing a good job.
This is me talking to my rectum. Let's see here. Blue band, 1 kilometer resolution, visible band 1, blue portion of the spectrum. It is particularly useful for detecting atmospheric aerosols such as smoke and dust. So it might be useful for wildfires, which there is a separate wildfire map, but there is also, I believe, dust RGB. This might be interesting, although it might not be relevant to the hurricane. And
there's something I don't have from my tower.
Yeah, right. Seriously, when I put dust off of my case, it probably make a plume in the atmosphere over New York. Desert surface day light blue. Well, that's weird that they give the desert surface a blue color. Mid thick clouds tan shades. Mid thin clouds green. Cold thin ice clouds black. All right, so we got some ice clouds around that hurricane. We got that 6 color, and we got that. Do we have any pink? Not quite. But we got like that. That's weird. It's like we got to go from red to this yellow color. So mid thick clouds tan shades, and number 6 would be cold thick clouds red. And I don't know how to interpret it, but all I can say is okay, like just going by like I know this is like a long time coming, guys, and we're gonna get this summed up now real quick. Okay, fire temperature. Well, I don't expect there to be many fires where the hurricane is, but interestingly it does register as this weird dark green color. Derived motion winds. This might be actually helpful. Let's see what this does, because this might actually be it actually could be a very useful tool for what we're trying to do. Now, we're looking at the Terminator line going back and forth. It does look a bit chaotic, doesn't it? There we go. Now we're reversing time. That Terminator line definitely makes it look a little weird. It looks like this is covering, oh my god, this is covering, I think, wait, let's see, October 6th, October 7th.
Wow, that thing really grew.
October 7th still. Let's see. Okay, so it's basically like, okay, so it's like a 2 or 3 day span. Like we see the Terminator line cross once, twice. So that's like 2 nights, or like, 2 nights basically, right? 2 days, 2 nights. And yeah, you're right. It does look like it grew quite a bit. Now remember, the nighttime image sometimes does leave a lot of detail out. In fact, that's why it looked like it grew. So when sunrise happens, and when sunset happens, a lot of the stuff that you see here disappears. So, for example, in fact, this is perfect. So we're going to go, okay, so like right here, that's nighttime. It looks small, but notice that it grows like right here. See how there's that white stuff over here? So this is an example of how some of the products don't give you a ton of detail, or that they leave some stuff out during the nighttime phase of the imagery. So that's why we have the microphysics map. But what we can see is these little flags seem to indicate the direction of the wind. They almost look like little rudders or something, like airplane rudders. And what this allows us to do, I guess, is sort of judge like the direction of the wind. So of course, being a hurricane, you get that whirly wind thing going on. So let's see. I'm a little confused about what these represent. They have these little fork patterns here, but these seem a little bit more intuitive that they're moving east. Let's see if we can sort of tease that level of detail out. So we're going. So that stuff is definitely, it's like this is going counterclockwise, but it seems that some of the stuff on the tail is leaving and going east. So while this part's going counterclockwise, which would mean like this part would be going from like west to east and back east. East, from west to east and then west again. Once you get to the tail, it all wants to go east. So that must be joining a different front, or maybe it's just like the nature of the tail. I feel like we're looking at 2 types of storm fronts kind of mingling together, because I know the core of the hurricane is the strong part, but it looks like they're already getting storm stuff, and that may be like a contributing thing to the storm surges. Perhaps this will dump a bunch of rain onto them, and then this part is going to be, what gives them the hard wind, but it may be the storm surge that, makes people's lives miserable before the core of the hurricane shows up.
I can see those high winds that we had the other night up there near Minnesota.
Ah, yeah. Look at that. I get interesting.
Trash cans all in the street the next morning.
Yeah, I see that too now. Whereas and I see like some of these like blue stuff. I don't know if that represents a cold front, but I can definitely see like how like it's still nice where I'm at, and it looks like there's like almost like a wall up here, kind of blocking that cold front from getting into my area too quickly. And hopefully it stays that way because I really don't want to get my telescope wet. Maybe I'll cover up in the morning if I have doubts. Sandwich RGB. Who doesn't love a sandwich?
With lights.
With lights. That might be toxic. Restriction of hazardous substances. So bottom line is that the right side represents colder clouds. So this is actually pretty much congruent with the earlier imagery we saw where the core and the upper surface of that hurricane is, the cold area, whatever that represents. Now, I would say that would be consistent with a high, well, let's see, cold is typically high pressure, I believe, but yes, hurricanes are inherently a low pressure front. So that's kind of like, to me, paradoxical. But once again, this is, meteorology amateur hour. But yeah, you know too, right? And look at that, we're working our way up. We already worked our ways up from the bottom there. We're near the top. Good. Jet stream. Potential vorticity. Deformation zones. Dry upper level. Dark red, orange. Orange storm bad. One is like, okay, so we don't really have much one, but we got this tan stuff. Let's take a look at number 6. Mid-level clouds. Tan salmon. Salmon's a color. That's funny. 5 is a high, thick cloud. Yeah, who doesn't like them thick? That's what he said. Okay, that's terrible. How did you miss all of the rain? What rain? Oh, how did I miss all the rain? I don't know, man. I don't know, Vankman. I don't know, but I hope I do miss it because I did remove the cover from that big telescope already.
It hasn't rained here in like 4 or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had like a lot of like up until this week. I've been having a lot of cloudy days. It hasn't like rained a lot, but it rained a bit. But I had a lot of cloud. I had like 2-3 weeks of cloudiness basically, about 2 weeks I'd say. But yeah, interpret that as you will because we're gonna move forward from here. But once again, oh look, we got air mass RGB. Let's real quick. It's used to diagnose the environment surrounding synoptic systems by enhancing the temperature and moisture characteristics of air masses. Cyclogenesis can be inferred by the identification of warm, dry, ozone-rich descending stratospheric air associated with jet streams and potential vorticity anomalies, PV. The RGB can be used to validate the location of PV anomalies in model data. Additionally, the RGB can distinguish between polar and tropical air masses, especially along upper-level frontal boundaries, and identify high, mid, and low-level clouds. And if we click on the hyperlink, as opposed to the hyperzelda, we got some stuff here. So, take that as you will. Limit cooling, I don't know what that means, but, you got this beautiful document. And these are pretty good. I got to say, I feel like I get my tax dollars money's worth from these things, except for when I click on those hyperlinks and it takes me nowhere. Then I feel like I might be getting a little bit shafted there. But whatever, can't get it all of the time, right? Customer service. Let's see. Okay, where are we at? Air masses. Good, we're getting there. We're not doing lightning today. Oh, actually, lightning might be helpful, right? So yeah, we got green stuff here. Oh yeah, that looks like light. Look at Cuba. And the DR or whatever this stuff here is. Yeah, we got lightning all over here now. Looks like it's southern Florida that's getting lightning or it's going to get lightning, but it's not really in the core yet. But the hurricane, yeah, you got like some stuff near the eye. You got some stuff on the tail. It's pretty much a number of flashes per 5 minutes. So basically like red could be like about 50 flashes per 5 minutes. Green, you got the idea. Green is like anywhere from like one flash every 10 minutes to one flash, and as it gets lighter, you get one flash every minute. I'm sorry, one flash every 5 minutes. 10 flashes every 10 5 minutes, and then somewhere up here you get in purple it's 100. So you can have between, in the red zones you got anywhere between like 10 and maybe 75, whatever, no, so once again that's another one you can get from the pull down menu. And finally we're going to get back to geo color. Let's see if we can infer anything from this real quick. But yes, the answer is I don't know, but if I was looking at the northern map, perhaps I can make some inferences. I believe there was a pressure front in my area that somehow prevented me from having to, see the rain Peter Venkman fan site. I believe that is what happened. Okay, so it is crawling, and if we can maybe estimate the rate of travel. I mean, basically it's like poised to hit Florida on Wednesday. I think that's about what I got from the forecast. And so if the water in the Gulf is warm, which I did not see anything to indicate water surface temperatures, but generally flying over the ocean is what fuels these hurricanes, especially when it's warm. And being, more southerly, I mean, it might be a weird hurricane, but I'm not inclined to blame it on weather modification, although I don't know. And also the thing is that even if it was weather modification, I'm not willing to rule out incompetence, because like Dubai is a great example. Dubai, they're playing God, right? They got this desert that is clearly a freaking desert, and they got a weather schedule because they got they got all this money to do to pay for the weather modification and Dubai, and so they can maintain a rain schedule. And then like during the recent summer, they had more rain than they bargained for. So either they inadvertently tipped the scale by playing God, or maybe they just so happened to try to seed the clouds while getting natural rain and ended up, dunking more, But either way, I wouldn't be surprised. We talk about climate change and stuff, but we don't talk about other types of weather modification. It's like, I don't know if it's hubris to say that our carbon emissions are enough or not enough, but I think that when you deliberately spray over farmland and you pull water out of clouds, you got a cloud flying over that's not going to release the rain, and then you release the rain from that cloud. In China, it was an issue because it meant that villages that were downstream from that cloud suddenly don't get the rain anymore, or don't get as much rain. But you could I could imagine at least how these imbalances, or how this could potentially instigate imbalances. And so that's why when I'm being told, oh, climate change, the end of the world, and look at the carbon statistics, well, I'm going to want you to account for these other types of, things, especially direct efforts to modify weather. But do I believe that HARP can energize a hurricane? I like the idea. It's kind of compelling, but no, I don't think so. But, I could be wrong. It's just that the amount of wattage that they could pump into anything using, something like HARP, it's not really comparable. Like a nuclear bomb versus a hurricane is not comparable, So I don't think diesel generators on a ground station in Alaska is comparable to a hurricane, So I could be wrong. Maybe it is possible to heat up a hurricane and give it more energy using radio waves. The other problem is blaming HARP. That's all the way in Alaska. Now, HARP, which is the High Altitude Auroral Research Project. Let's get a picture of that. Because I think this is often what comes up to mind. When there was Katrina, people would refer to this installation in Alaska, and it can use ELF or VLF, extremely low frequency radio stuff, and it is capable of doing this, heating the atmosphere, heating the sky, heating the ionosphere, I believe. And one of the things that HARP can do is it can create fake aurora borealises and create fake auroras over that part of Alaska, where it'll actually have like a distinct pattern based on the wave or the frequency. And the reason that was tested was because the idea was that maybe you can create a section of charged plasma particles at high altitude. So if a ballistic missile was coming down, it would destroy the missile, almost like a force field, but more like a burn things up field, But as for how can it affect a hurricane, no, I don't think it really can have a tangible effect on a hurricane. That's, after, years of looking into it and stuff on and off, it's just kind of where I'm at right now. But I could be wrong. Or I could be very right. If it's dry tonight, that's the surprise, since we got it pretty heavy yesterday. Yeah, it's pretty dry. I mean, in this part of New York, at least, it's pretty dry. And even upstate, it was pretty dry. I went to like the edge of Connecticut and New York State, and yeah, it was like, maybe today it's a little bit cooler. It feels a little bit more, humidity. There's a little bit more humidity in the air, but yeah, and I get intermittent clouds. There are clouds, but it's like partly cloudy, and the forecast says it's going to be clear at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. hopefully. So after this stream, I'm going to log into my telescope and see if I can automate some image acquisition and go to bed. Oh, hiccups, excuse me. And speaking of hiccups, well, no hiccups here. Excuse my manners. Part of my manners, Lady Mist. It is lovely seeing you here tonight, and I do appreciate the turtles and the grub for my turtles, because those turtles love grubs. I got a bag. I got a bag of freeze-dried worms, freeze-dried crickets, freeze-dried river shrimp, and I just take a spoon, scoop it out, I give it to my turtles, and I have a mixed attitude on it because the bag is a little bit smelly, but they seem to like it, and I guess if it's freeze-dried, it can't go bad. But yeah, anyway, Lady Mist, you made it just in time for me to do my introductory statements. But before we do, so we covered HARP. Any thoughts, any opinions about any of this, David, whether it be HARP or the hurricane?
Well, I have to agree about HARP. The amount of energy that you can generate with diesel generators and then inject via radio waves or whatever frequency that they're using, it would be small. You would have to have almost like a small Dyson array or whatever above here.
Like even if they had a nuclear reactor hooked up to it, maybe like multiple multi-megawatt reactors, but diesel generators on their own aren't going to cut it. And frankly, I think an individual atomic bomb is able to put a lot of energy into the system, and if that's not enough to mathematically alter it, then I doubt that aforementioned setup can do it, even with a nuclear reactor attachment. And also, HARP itself is in a spot where I don't think it could really, I mean, I could be wrong, maybe they could bounce the radio waves off the atmosphere, but I don't think it could really touch the skies above the Gulf or the skies above, Florida and, the South, basically. So therefore, if there was something doing it, it would have to be a different installation. It wouldn't be it would not be one in Alaska. It'd have to be somewhere else. So people are going to need to put forth a different candidate if they want to, explore that hypothesis. I would recommend to explore the hypothesis, look for other installations that are similar to HARP, and, see what you come up with,
Yeah, you'd need multiple stations to set up like a resonating wave between the various ones.
Excuse me. But I would, I think either you need multiple stations, or at the very least you need the ability to hand over. Maybe a nearby station could affect the storm, and then when it starts drifting in a given direction, perhaps another station. But when you talk about the other concept you just put forward, the type of waves, or intermingling the waves, I can see that that's the whole other dimension of complexity is there. Oh shoot, we got Jacob Einstein in the house. Oh, I'm sorry to tell both you and Lady Mist, the bad news is we're wrapping up. I said that in such a sinister tone. We're wrapping up. But jokes aside, I'd love to do this till 2 a.m., but it is a school night. But it is wonderful seeing you, Jacob Ironside, who does quality content and is a great friend of the channel. We go way back. Well, I don't know. Do we go way back? I don't know. I've known your name for a while. Oh, wait. Is Jacob Ironside on YouTube or a different platform? Because my YouTube chat stopped updating. Ah, there it is. Now I see it. Cool. I'm gonna drop a Jacob Ironside link because.
Oh, you're gonna beat me to it. Cool.
Oh,
yeah.
Go
for it. I'm not even close to being there, so me too. It would take me 35 seconds just to get where I needed to be.
Yeah, the worst one is that 70s rock fan. Trying to get his link, it's you type that, it doesn't come up in a search at all.
That space just messes me up.
Space. Me too. Though. It's like the search will not spit out the result unless you put that space in the exact right spot. It's insane.
And then snacks, of course, you have to put Gator's name in there.
Luckily, that one works because we have a trigger for that, because I could just type the word snacks in like this, and I'm pretty sure that works. Yep, there we go. We got him. See,
there it is.
And also I remember it's Snacks 323. So when I'm on Jolly's channel, worst case scenario. But it's funny because like I used to do like the word Snacks and Friends Gator because like
Yeah.
otherwise you can just get Snacks and Friends generic. But then if you put Gator in there, suddenly you get the video of Gator, and then you can just click on that and you're good to go. So yeah, keyword Gator, and no doubt Jacob Ironside anytime, bud. So yeah, with that being said, I think I done enough amateur meteorology tonight. I hope I did bring something to the table. I think I did a little bit of a mixture of talking out of my buttocks as well as, talking about, how to get more information. So real quick, I'm going to drop you guys the link one more time. And just remember, the GOES East satellite stuff, right? That's the last link I just dropped from the NOAA National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. These maps will sometimes have different color keys for daytime and nighttime. They use UTC time, which is basically GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, basically London. And if you scroll down, most of these pages at the bottom will have a link to give you more information, sort of like what you're seeing here, to explain the individual product that is being provided through the government. And so the term product is sort of like a generic term, like essentially they got instruments on the satellites and they, mix and match the layers of imagery, or they composite it, and then that's essentially what becomes a product like GeoColor or day-night microphysics combo, and so on and so forth. So if anybody has any questions about if you end up reviewing these, anybody watching, if you end up reviewing this page and you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'll be happy to do another follow-up video on specific elements of this, or even address questions directly in the comments. And with that being said, David Glenn, is there anything you would like to promote or make fun of or otherwise mention?
No.
Alrighty. So with that being said,
not
good night.
rebuilding anything. So hey.
But Floral is right. I'm sure in the not too distant future we'll be doing some kind of fun technical stream, or maybe even just bullshitting while you do some kind of battery refurbishment. I'm down for anything, basically. So I'm sure there will be more to come. But I'm glad that the audio worked tonight. We basically got 5x5 or 5x10 or whatever number we want to use. But no, this is more than satisfactory. So we are Gucci here. And with that being said, we're going to find that introduction song there. All right, just a heads up. Sometimes when I put this song on, it blows out my eardrums. So, yeah, just a heads up, David. And
duly noted.
And chat, I apologize. By the way, leave me feedback. If the sound is too loud on this, I'll try to remember next week to not make it too loud. Although I probably should do that now, but, I'll lower it to 88 on a scale of 120. So with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. For anybody watching on the replay, or as I said earlier, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or questions about the whole, weather map thing, please feel free to leave a comment, and consider liking and subscribing if you're not already subscribed, which you probably are since you're watching now. And for now, we shall end transmission right after this message. We will not be right back. I told you.